Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, just announced his retirement at age 94. After more than 60 years of building a $1.16 trillion empire, he'll step down by the end of this year. The media is calling him the ultimate proof that compound interest works. But I'm not so sure. If compound interest really is the ultimate path to wealth, why are so many people who've followed the rules still broke by 60? Maybe the truth isn't what they told us. Maybe it's time we looked closer. The truth behind Buffett's early millions. They say, save early, invest smart, wait long enough, and you'll be rich. And to prove it, they point to Buffett. But here's what they don't tell you. By age 32, Buffett already had over $1 million in the 1960s. Adjusted for inflation, that's over $9 million today. That's not from skipping coffee. That's not compound interest. That's leverage. He raised capital. He took control. He owned businesses. He wasn't waiting 40 years for money to grow. He made it move. Compounding works best after you've built a foundation. If you're starting with nothing, it's not compounding. It's crawling. Compound interest is not for those starting from zero. If you truly understand compound interest, you'll realize it's built on 3 core elements. First, your principal, the amount of money you invest. Second, your rate of return, how much your investment earns. And third, time, how long your money stays invested. Now, which of these matters most? It's still the principal. Because both interest and time are simply tools to multiply the capital you already have and reinvest it over and over again. Without capital, there's nothing to compound. If you stop buying $5 lattes, you'll be rich in 30 years. Really? If that were true, every Starbucks avoider would be a millionaire by now. The formula sounds simple: capital, returns, and time. But let's be honest, the one that matters most is capital. And when you have none, compounding doesn't help. It's like planting seeds in concrete and waiting for a forest. You wait, you hope, but without capital, you're not building wealth. You're stalling. Let's say 2 people get 10% returns. One starts with $1,000/. The other starts with $100,000. After 1 year, the first earns $100. The second earns $10,000. Same percentage. Wildly different result. This is how wealth gaps widen. Compound interest is not a great equalizer, it's a great amplifier. And if you're starting from zero, it amplifies very little. Before we continue, every video here carries a bit of heart. If you felt that, a like or subscribe would mean a lot. The risk of compound interest. Here's what most personal finance books don't tell you. Compound interest isn't just a growth engine, it's a double-edged sword. If you grow your portfolio by 100% this year, great. But if you lose 50% the next, you're right back where you started. And losses are easier than gains. Stocks fall faster than they rise. One bad year can erase a decade of work. Textbooks love to show you 7% annual growth. But markets aren't that polite. They crash, recover, stall, then crash again. Inflation eats into your gains. Bad investments set you back. Fees drain your account over time. When you add it all up, the real return might be 2-4%, and that's before taxes. Compounding looks beautiful on paper. In real life, it's full of potholes. And even if you could average decent returns, what happens when life gets in the way? Emergencies happen. Layoffs, illness, family responsibilities, all of them can force you to cash out your investments early. That breaks the compounding cycle entirely. Most people won't get a perfect, uninterrupted 40-year window. Real life is messier than that. Everyone talks about how money grows on its own through compounding. But let's be honest, it only grows if you actually earn a return. That means your investment has to perform consistently, year after year. In the real world, that's hard. You don't get compound interest without first getting real returns. When using compound interest, every time you reinvest, you're putting in both your principal and your gains. So, if you earn a 100% return this year, your $10,000 becomes $20,000. But if you lose 50% the next year, that $20,000 goes right back to $10,000? In other words, if you lose 50% today, you need to gain 100% just to break even tomorrow. Now let me ask you this. In today's market, stocks, mutual funds, even crypto, what's easier to find? A 50% loss or a 100% gain? Finding an investment that doubles your money is incredibly rare. Finding one that drops by half happens all the time. How Buffett really built his wealth. Buffett didn't get rich from compound interest. He got rich from control. He managed other people's money. He took fees, win or lose. He bought insurance companies and used their cash flow, known as float, to invest. Even if his investments failed, the float kept coming. He wasn't gambling his own paycheck. He was playing with house money. This isn't passive investing. This is building a machine that prints capital, then using that capital to invest for the long game. Let's break that down with real numbers. By the age of 32, Buffett had already accumulated over $1 million at a time when the average annual income in America was just $3,000. That's the equivalent of over $9 million today. He didn't get there by saving, he got there by raising capital. At 26, he secured $100,000 from family and friends and invested it with discipline. Within 6 years, he had multiplied it tenfold. The truth is, while he often advises others not to borrow to invest, he himself was investing other people's money from the very beginning. And not only did he avoid risk, he got paid for taking it. That's financial leverage with near zero cost. And yet, many people still think that simply buying stocks makes them just like Buffett, especially when compared to those who don't invest at all. But that's missing the point. When a small retail investor buys a stock, they're just buying a stock. But when Buffett buys a stock, he's acquiring a business. He gains control. Take Berkshire Hathaway. Originally, it was just a struggling textile company. Buffett planned to invest briefly and exit. But the business kept losing money, and unexpectedly, he became its largest shareholder. Now, Buffett knew nothing about running a textile mill. So he did something brilliant. He used the shell of Berkshire Hathaway to acquire an insurance company and eventually transformed it into a financial powerhouse. Under his leadership and restructuring, the company's value exploded. Buffett wasn't just picking stocks. He was re-engineering entire businesses, using capital as a tool for transformation. At that point, he looked less like a stock investor and more like an entrepreneur who happened to play the game of money better than anyone else. And that's why books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad teach this one simple truth. Become a business owner first, then become an investor. If you're young, compound interest is not your weapon. If you're in your 20s or 30s, stop thinking about 7% returns. Think about how to multiply your income. Learn rare skills, build things, create cash flow. Once you've done that, then compound it. Trying to use compound interest when you have nothing is like pouring gas on wet wood. It doesn't light. You are the investment, and until that grows, nothing else will. Compound interest is a game of decades. You're told to invest at 25 and wait until you're 65. But think about it. That means you're deferring freedom, lifestyle, and choices for 40 years, hoping it'll pay off in the end. In the meantime, you're living small, sacrificing experiences, and stressing over pennies. What's the point of having money when you're too old or too tired to enjoy it? When you already have a strong foundation like Buffett did, with a business that generates steady cash flow and passive income, that's when investing truly works. First, your capital is already large. If I invest a few $1 million, my return rate doesn't need to be spectacular. The timeline doesn't have to be long either. And yet, I can still make a lot of money. If you're an employee setting aside a portion of your paycheck to invest, even if your return rate and time horizon are better than mine, you still might never earn in a lifetime what I can make in a single year. This isn't arrogance, it's math. Here's why. When your capital base is small, even great returns take forever to become meaningful. But when the base is big, even average returns produce massive gains. Final truth. Compound interest isn't wrong, but it's not enough. Many people say that 99% of Buffett's wealth was created after he turned 60. But that's a common misunderstanding. In reality, by the age of 52, Buffett already had around $300 million. He was already extremely wealthy long before compound interest did its magic. What happened after that wasn't proof that compounding creates wealth from nothing. It was proof that compounding amplifies wealth if you already have it. Think about every billionaire you know. Did Jeff Bezos get rich by saving his paycheck and compounding it for 40 years? Did Elon Musk wait patiently for 7% returns? Of course not. They built companies. They owned systems. They controlled cash flow. Even Warren Buffett, the poster child of compounding, made his first fortune by managing capital, not waiting on it. Compound interest didn't make him rich. It made him richer. That's a big difference. Compound interest is real, but only if you survive long enough. Only if you have the capital. Only if you don't make a big mistake. For most people, it's not about waiting. It's about building. Build income. Build resilience. Build the ability to survive bad years. Then let compounding take over. Because compounding isn't the first step to wealth. It's the reward after you've already built something worth multiplying. Before you dream of compound interest, build yourself first. Let me be honest with you. If you're still young, you don't have much capital, and you can't control your rate of return, then forget about compound interest. It's not for you. It doesn't matter. Not yet. I always tell people, when you're young, focus on growing your income. But most people are too busy trying to save pennies. That's not strategy. That's just a way to feel better. They believe that by saving alone, they'll build a stable and happy future. But what really happens? They become part of the 97% whose savings get wiped out by inflation and economic downturns in less than a decade. It's like fixing the roof while the foundation is collapsing. Our goal should be to use initial capital as a foundation to expand wealth, not to bet small and hope for big. Do you see the difference? Anyone who's been through it knows exactly what I mean. When you have nothing, no capital, no leverage, why waste time chasing small bets with big dreams? Why not invest in the one thing you actually control? You. Because you are your only asset. And you are the most valuable investment you'll ever have. Let me show you a better path. When the whole world is doing the same thing, saving, playing safe, following the crowd, you need to find a different way. In the first 20, even 30 years of your life, interest rates and time don't matter nearly as much as how much capital you have. During the first 2 decades of investing, the effect of interest and compounding is minimal. What truly matters is the size of your base. If you don't have much capital, it will take forever to generate meaningful returns. That's why when you're young, stop obsessing over the stock market. Start obsessing over building yourself. Because once you grow your value, money will never be your problem again. That is what you need to focus on now. Learn to distinguish what's urgent from what's important. And act on important. Now, I'm not saying compound interest doesn't matter. It absolutely does. Because once you have consistent returns, compounding becomes a force that multiplies everything over time. But it's only powerful after you've built the foundation. If this video gave you something to think about, or just made you pause, give it a like, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to Mr. Simple Bob. We're building slow wisdom, one lesson at a time. And remember, you don't get wealthy by waiting. You get wealthy by doing the right things, again and again.